And welcome back to the second episode of Building the Board, presented by Bears on Tap. My name is Quentin Crisco. I'm joined by Tom Kavanaugh and Luke O'Grady, who are going to sit down and talk to you guys about some wide receiver draft prospects tonight. So sit down, get ready, get a drink, get ready, get those headphones on, ready to listen. And Tom, I'm going to toss it over to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very relevant episode, Luke, because the Bears make a huge trade today, trading DJ Moore. It was not, I mean, maybe not huge in terms of like a surprise. I think most
Yeah.
fans, like they knew the writing was on the wall and he wasn't going to be here for the 2026 season. But before we get into the prospects themselves, Luke, how are you doing, buddy? And also, what did you make of that trade?
Doing good. Doing good. I feel like it's been like after the season, man, it's such a I kind of like until building the board starts up, I'm like pretty chill on like really doing any posting and doing much stuff in the Twitter space and stuff like that. So I feel like I've been in hibernation until right now, but I'm good. Been busy, I'm good. The trade today, sick, man. I mean, it sucks to see DJ go. I think he was probably more useful than a lot of people realize. But going forward, he was going to be the wide receiver 3, like hopefully, as far as like that unit is concerned. But what we got back, like Pole's doing some stuff. Like that's some good stuff, man. We were looking to offload that contract. Like it looked like when people were discussing what we were going to get back for it. It looked like one of those things where it was like you kind of just have to eat getting rid of a good player because the contract was that bad. And I know we had to throw in a 5th back, but getting a 2nd for that, like that is just that's some class stuff from Ryan Poles.
I still can't believe it. I'm assuming there was other bidders, and it was probably the price was probably like floated around a 3rd, maybe like an early 4th, and then the prices kind of got driven up from there. And I said it in a group chat. I think in our group chat today, I was like, familiarity in the NFL is king. Like like coaches love players they've worked with, and they will pay a premium to get those guys back. And I think that's what really drove up the price. And while I don't think receivers a need now, I do think DJ Moore of the 3 guys was probably the best vertical receiver. I think Burden will take some of that load off because I do think while Burden is like a really good yak receiver, I do think he has the speed to kind of clear defenses out if they need him to do that. But obviously, I don't think that's how you want to use him. You want to use him closer to the ball because he's just that electric with the ball in his hands. Like I think that's where he does his best work. So if I had to say they were missing any element, Luke, of this wide receiver, I mean, I'd love to hear your take, but I think it is some like deep speed, someone that can really track the ball in like a vertical sense.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I think even before DJ Moore left, I would have thought that was kind of where we fell short a little bit. DJ was probably the best at it, but even then, if you said like, DJ Moore is a deep vertical guy, most people would tell you like that's not exactly the case. DJ is so good because I think he'd probably be best described as like a yak guy, and he's strong with the ball in his hands, and he can win for you deep. I guess that's why he nets you a 2nd coming back. But I would still say, as far as like Bears targeting, that would definitely be, at least from my perspective, like who I kind of think like your Jamison Williams for the Ben Johnson offense doesn't exist right there right now.
I think that's like the one element that they're missing, just like game-breaking speed. And like the cool thing about how Ben Johnson used Jamison Williams and why I think he really broke out when they kind of found where he was best at is like, yes, you can obviously use him down the field. He could definitely clear defenses out. He could definitely shift coverages for you in that way. But like where he's really lethal is on those crossing routes where he can just, if you get him in open space, he's taking him to the house. And like, look, they have players like I think Burden can be a player kind of like that. But I think that like the real game-breaking speed, they're probably missing. Which is I'm thinking less so Jamison Williams in terms of like a role within the offense. I'm thinking more of like Khalif Raymond. Like that was a player Ben Johnson got a lot of good production out of for being like your wide receiver 4, maybe sometimes your wide receiver 3. I think the Bears could probably use a player like that.
Yeah. Completely agree. I kind of think that it'll be interesting to see how like you're probably going to get 2 moves at receiver in the offseason other than like possibly one in the draft. Like you'll probably get a re-sign for like an OZ or get an OZ type similar player. And then there's still, I think an obvious spot at that wide receiver 3 still yet, because it's not going to be like OZ wouldn't be your wide receiver 3. Like you need to make a move to have a 4th that you like, and that's fine. But I think whether that's the draft or whether that's free agency, there's still a pretty obvious and like important role in the offense that still isn't there.
For sure.
I think, yeah. What
did you think about Ja'Day Walker?
Not there.
Luke, what did you think about Ja'Day Walker before we move on to the prospects? Like, do you think because right now he's kind of like your de facto wide receiver 3. And I know some fans have higher expectations for him. So do you think he could be that guy for this team?
I don't know. Like, honestly, when he did play, I don't think, like, I know he was scoring a lot of touchdowns and was getting some love, but I also thought that the tape looked nice too. Like, he was like doing a little bit, like he was a bit of a bucket getter, especially on third down. I kind of actually, you know what, I don't know if I was, he was even really, like, when I was thinking about the roster makeup right now, I kind of forgot about him. And maybe you could make the hope that he could jump up to a 3. I feel like that's, maybe I'm just selling him short because of where he was drafted or like undrafted, you know, where we got him. I definitely liked his tape, but, you know, keeping him in mind, I would say you're still he would then probably comfortably be wide receiver 4. Maybe he can make that jump to wide receiver 3, but I think you at least need to take a swing at someone else you think could excel to that role as well to at least challenge him.
I agree. I think if he's competition and he could actually like win out the job, then absolutely. Like, I don't want to just hand him over the job, but that's why I think this free agent class and more so the draft class, the guys we're going to talk about, there's a couple interesting options. I think the Bears could probably, I mean, I didn't think they were going to draft one in round 2 last year. So you really never know. Like I feel like they definitely could. Like this, I feel like Ben Johnson and just seeing what they did in the draft, they are truly like a best player available type of team. And like the first 2 rounds, I would say. And Poles even alluded to that. He was saying like early on in the draft, we're definitely going to draft best player available, and then we'll go towards needs if we haven't addressed them yet later on. So they could definitely draft someone higher than we think. But I definitely think that there's options later on in this draft that can kind of fill that like wide receiver 3-4 role for you.
Yeah, I agree, and I think last year when they did the Luther Burden move, I remember thinking to myself, like, that one was weird because it felt like whatever you were going to ask DJ Moore to do, you'd kind of ask Luther Burden to do. Like, better with the ball in his hand. He's strong, but he also has like enough speed that he can win deep if you need him to. Like, that kind of feels like it's true, even the size wise. Like, it's kind of true of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, not having the foresight that our Kings, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have, like that makes it easy to make a move like trading DJ Moore when the opportunity's there and getting yourself a second round pick back, which kind of, you know, it's funny to think about. That's where we got Luther, and to get that back, it's like now you get to use that second round pick on maybe something that you would have spent last year on receiver.
And that's why it speaks to never draft for need. I feel like you always should be drafting for the best player available, because you can make moves like this. Like, you can make a DJ Moore becomes expendable. You save $16 million. You recoup a second round pick. Like that's the benefits of doing a trade like this, because it's a different situation. But like let's say if they just like reach for like what second round defensive lineman last year looks anything promising. Like they're all. I feel like those guys take time, if not rarely ever hit. So I love what they did there, and the Bears are obviously in really good shape. I think there's some clear areas where Burden and Rome need to get better at before I'll say this is like a complete room, but I feel really good about where the Bears are at. But Luke, we should probably not waste any more time. Jump right into it. So Carnell, do you want to start with the 1 seed or work our way up?
Sure.
Let's start with it.
Straight. We can just work our way down.
Okay.
And this is
talk about Eric McAlister, because I know nothing about him.
Eric McAlister, TCU guy, pure X receiver, like kind of cut from that cloth of like what you've got from TCU guys the last couple of years. Like, who's the guy for the Chargers?
Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson and Savion Williams, like both, those big body X receivers that have more speed than you think they should have and are like good at breaking tackles. I think that McAlister probably doesn't have, like, if he timed his 40, I don't think he would have gotten like the kind of stuff that Savion and his name, I just lost his name again. But anyway, the other boys from TCU would have had. I think he's a little bit slower than that, but he's probably a better ball player than those guys. Like, he's got a little bit more nuance to his route. He's got a little bit better hands. He comes with a lot of red flags, and that'll be a big part of it. He's got some history of him and the law have had some run-ins, and they're not exactly like, they're pretty, like, they're not great run-ins with the law either. Like, stuff that, if you were a team, you might not even ask the questions in the room because it might be just too like weird to cover kind of thing. Anyway, That being said, I think he's got some upside. He's probably, he'll end up like a 4th or a 5th round grade in my book. Maybe something like what Pat Bryant was last year, like a similar player to that.
Okay.
But Carnell Tate's probably gonna end up as wide receiver 1 for me, just because I'm not sure what I think about Jordan Tyson's backs, and because of that, this is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, Carnell Tate is definitely in that conversation for me as well. And I'm looking, I did not see McAlister tested at all, so that probably checks out. I like to say, if you're not testing, we usually have our answers about what kind of athlete you are, unless you're dealing with some type of injury, and they still have the pro days, so maybe they're just waiting until then. But I don't ever think that's a great sign. No. I did not know about the off the field stuff. I think what's pretty interesting about him, though, he's been productive, like from a per route basis. I'm just looking at the raw PFF numbers basically every single year of his college career. And I'm always interested in those guys. I'm always interested in if you're produced early on, you have a very good chance of, I think that's a very good indication from just like a pure production standpoint, those guys that break out early. But like you said, I don't know, I don't see the Bears really diving deep into the pool of the guys with the off the field issues. I'd be surprised if that's the route they go.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also, I just feel like that's a guy that, like, we have that role. This guy would never ever really be a burner for you. Mm-hmm. He can get open for you deep a little bit more than his speed would suggest, just because he's got some nuance and he can like stack you kind of good. But I just don't think that it would make sense across Luther and Rome.
For sure. Why don't we save Carnell Tate for when we actually have like a real
we're
battle?
Gonna have a couple of rounds of him.
So obviously he'll move on to the next round, and let's work our way to Chris Brazzell and Malachi Fields. Fields is also a guy I haven't really watched. I've caught glimpses of him. I think I kind of know the kind of receiver he is, but Chris Brazzell is probably one of the most polarizing receivers in this class. There's some guys, people that have him as like a top 5 receiver. There's some people that think he shouldn't be drafted until day 3. Wow. Where do you lie with Chris Brazzell?
I like what Chris Brazzell does. Like, I think what he does, you can absolutely do in the NFL too. Like, I think if you liked like Brenen Thompson Jr. a couple of years ago, I don't know how you don't like Chris Brazzell. I think he's a weird eval because he plays in that Tennessee offense, and there's some stuff like you almost just wonder what that coaching room is like, because it's like, is he taking every second play off, or is he just not supposed to be running? And like, he only runs like 4 or 5 routes. But he's got some special stuff as a deep threat. I really do think so.
His releases are some of the best in the class, I think. Like, if you could just bottle up his best plays, you're like, okay, this guy can be Brenen Thompson Jr. Like, he could definitely just be that vertical X receiver that wins on the line of scrimmage, wins down the field. He tracks the ball really well, plucks it out of the air. I think I've seen on Twitter that they say, like, to conserve your speed, because it is like a half field offense. So on that side of the field, when they know they're not going to be involved, they don't run. Like, it's like one of the most, if you had no context and you watched it and you were like a scout, you would want to pull your hair out, because it is like the craziest thing ever. They literally just jog off the ball. It is insane to watch.
Even jogging would be like, that's a kind way to do it. There are sometimes he'll just walk right off the ball.
Literally, like, it makes no sense. And there are plays where the play goes to his side. There was one play, I will not forget it, because I have my concerns about him for these reasons. I think he's closer to like a round 3, round 4 type of pick, but there's a play where he's supposed to clear the defense out and they're supposed to get it to the running back in the flat, and he's just like walking off the ball, and the DB never buys it. Like, he just goes right back. The DB he's supposed to occupy and get out of the way for the running back never buys it. I forgot which game it was. I think it could have been Georgia. Yeah. And then he points like he did something. Like, he points like, and then puts his hands in the air like he just like caused the touch. I was like, what is going on? But really, beyond however it's coached, whatever his effort is, I think the blocking is like some of the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he does not block at all. He's not interested in blocking. I think that would be a hard time to get your way on the field if you were drafted by the Bears. And then there's like no yards after the catch what to speak of at all. On top of, like you said, the route running is like he runs like 4 different routes. Yeah. So the pure talent I'm really intrigued with, but like he would be a huge interview guy for me. Like, what is going on here? Like,
100%.
Yeah,
his blocking technique's horrible, and like even sometimes he like works up this like nastiness and decides like 1 or 2 plays a game he really wants to try and block hard, and it's like even then, it's like that's not the way to do it either. And he'll chase after the block and meet them there instead of just sitting in the pocket and letting the play come to him. Like, he doesn't have a sense for putting himself between the play. But that being said, like, if you don't respect him going, like, if you don't have a guy over top or you have a cushion, he'll run by you. He will run by you. And if you like respect it, man, like, he can kind of break it down with that, like, that deep out or that deep hook. Like, he can burn you, like, in a way that it's like, like, there's no question about, like, if his stuff will translate to the NFL, like that, he'll have that in his bag for the next 8 years type thing.
100%. I thought I loved some of his routes when he was coming back to the quarterback. Like, when he breaks out or stops on a dime, it's beautiful. Like, it looks really pretty. And I think he's a really, at the routes he does run, he's really, really good. It's just it's just the other kind of big questions I have about him, to where, like, he would just be a big interview guy for me. But what about Fields? What did you think about Fields? Because I think from what I know about him, they sound like totally different receivers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They both ran at the combine, and they probably would have been on pretty well the polar ends of the spectrum. I think Fields ran like a 4.61.
Brazzell ran a 4.37, and this is the guy who's like 6'4", like barely. He's thin. He's like rail thin.
Yeah, I think he's like 200 on the nose.
A 4.37 is insane for his size.
It shows up, like, and you know what? And it's not just blazing speed either. Like, it's some of that stuff that you can tell, like, he knows you're scared of his speed, and like is like savvy about how he sets it up. Like, he really does have an ability to get open. He has nice hands too. He doesn't offer you anything in the yak department, like you said. He gets tackled pretty easily, and he's got kind of like he has nice ball control, and he does a good job of jumping up to stab the ball. But because of that, there are some times when he should just be catching this ball grounded, like your classic Ohio State receiver type thing.
Yeah.
And he's jumping and spinning around, and it's like, okay, I get it. You can do it. But it's like, you got to, like, there's a lot more to it. So he needs to get coached up on that. I think Malachi Fields, on the other hand, like, he's like a classic possession receiver. Like, honestly, I thought to myself when I watched him play, and then I saw the speed stuff, I was like, man, like, he almost might've got bad advice, not putting on 25 pounds and just being a tight end.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of who he is. Like, he ran slow and he plays slow. He has unreal hands. Like, his ability to go up and get it is crazy. He's got nice body control. Like, he works the boundary well. Like, he had a couple of plays that I, like, out loud was like holy shit. Like just some stuff that was like, that's insane. Like, nobody else is up in that air, like, where he plays the ball. But he's like, he really would never be a deep threat at the NFL level. Like, he could be a bucket getter for you, like maybe like a Michael Thomas. Like, you need to play on third down, and you're in.
I was just about to ask you, Luke. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I like to think of like these big, like, lumbering X receivers, like, on a spectrum. I think the high end's obviously like Mike Evans, but I want to be more realistic. I think like the high end of the guys who like aren't amazing separators, like, yet can separate, is like a Cortland Sutton type. Those are the kind of guys I think of. And the low end is like Keon Coleman, who can't get on the field. Right. Where do you think he falls within that spectrum?
He's a little bit better than Keon Coleman, I think, just because he has good technique and he's strong. So he can actually get over top of the defense like a little bit more than you think. Like, he's not like he's not really like he'll get separation. Like, some guys like Elijah Sarratt, for example, they're making a ton of plays deep, but it's like, it's always contested, and it's always like back shoulder stuff. Like, sometimes Fields will get on top of you, but I just don't think that's what it feels like. One of those things that he can do that in the college level. It's not going to translate at the NFL level. So I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about his how he's going to translate to the NFL. Like I said, he can kind of be a bucket getter for you, but I feel like that's about his ceiling. Is like, if you need a 3rd and 6, he can get you like a 3rd and 6 kind of thing.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and think are you more intrigued with Brazzell? Because Brazzell sounds more intriguing.
Yeah, 100%. I think Brazzell is I feel like the two things like you need a receiver to be able to do is get you a bucket, and then like, can he break the game for you? I think that Brazzell can do the full game breaking stuff, but I also think he probably can get you a bucket. I'm not exactly sure because of how he was used. Like, you're never going to see him just run a pure slant kind of thing,
right?
But there's definitely a chance he could. I just don't think that chance exists with Fields.
Yeah, that's
Fields.
totally
I also
fair.
think Fields is going to be like 24 when the season starts.
Oh no. Yeah, that's never great. The older guys, I mean, in terms of breakout age and stuff like that, it's never like not that those guys will like never work out, but it's just like never a great place to start. So yeah, I'm with you there. Brazzell sounds more intriguing, especially for the Bears who need some
Yeah.
speed. Brazzell at least has that. The next one is so fascinating because I think when you're talking about big body receivers outside of Carnell Tate, who's not even the biggest body in the world, but just like the stylistic play, these are probably the two poster childs of like big receivers in this class. But Boston is so fascinating to me because he's not like they don't use him like an X receiver. Like they do at times, and he does have really good ball skills. He does have really good body control, but he plays as the Z so much in that offense where they're keeping him off the line of scrimmage, or they're like bunch formation. He's the guy who's off the line. They're protecting him. And he doesn't really have to deal with like a whole lot of press coverage, like not as much as you think. There are definitely reps on there. And I thought in some of like the better competition games, he kind of phased out whenever he was used that way. I don't think he's like has the greatest releases in the world. Like I don't think he wins in isolation that well. But I really do think he's a better athlete than I thought he was going to be. I know he didn't test, but like the way he looks on the tape, like I think he can stride out and run. I think he can cut on a dime and really start to break off some of his routes.
Fully.
It's just I don't think he has like the initial like separation quickness to like explode off the line of scrimmage. So he's such a weird player to me. What did you think about Denzel Boston?
I like him. Like I like Denzel Boston. I think he'll probably end up as a top 5 receiver for me. Top 6 or 7. There's a couple of guys that I think are slightly getting slept on right now. I think honestly, game style wise, he plays a lot like from last year. Ted McMillan.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. But Jaden Higgins was was a soft comp for him. So I thought that's where you were going. But I can definitely see where like they don't play as big as you. They want to win in other ways. I get what you're saying.
And like they have some short area quickness better than you'd think.
Yes.
I also think they both have vice grips. Like that Denzel Boston has mitts, man. Like if you never want to be the guy that's a contested catch guy, but it's not only that, like it's when it's outside its frame, like when he's in the end zone, like he's got really nice hands through contact too. But yeah, like he's like, I don't know, he's like 6'4", like 215. So you'd imagine him to be like this big body guy. And then, like Washington had him out there like returning punts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's just a funny cat, but he's got good movement for his size. He gets open. He's got better straight lines, at least in game. He's got better straight line speed and I think acceleration than I thought he'd have. I'm surprised he didn't really test. Maybe it's just like one of those pro day things. But like you said, if you're not testing this, because like if he goes out and runs a 4.45, people love that. So it's like, okay, you probably weren't going to run a 4.45.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I think he looks fast. Like he gets.
That's why I'm saying like it's surprising he didn't test. Yeah. Because I do think so too. I think he fully and like if that's the case, like if you can get behind people, then you're in that game breaker like territory. And I think he's got great yak too. He's got really good contact balance. Like just a lot to love. I don't know if I don't know if he's elite at any one thing, but he's a nice prospect.
He's like a wide receiver too in the league. I don't know what Jaden Higgins was my comp for him. Like that's kind of where I envision him. I think they're a little bit different because like you said, I think he's faster. And I think like some of the best stuff he did to me was catch passes over the middle. Like I thought he was just really comfortable staying grounded and continuing out his stride on some of those in-breaking routes. Like I thought that was where I really liked him, which could be a fit for the Bears. But reality is I don't think he'll ever be really in the Bears' range to draft, at least in the second round. So yeah, I liked him more than I thought I would. I definitely think I have my issues with him. I think the isolation stuff is where I didn't like him as much. But if he ends up in like a Shanahan or even a Ben Johnson style of offense where things are really condensed, I think you definitely will have to like what you get in a Denzel Boston. Elijah Sarratt he was a complicated one for me because, like you said, Luke, he's not the best separator, especially down the field. Like, he just does not create a whole lot of separation.
When you hear Ben Johnson, like he got asked, like, why don't you ever just sometimes like to get some guy involved, like force it and throw up that jump ball? And Ben Johnson's like, I want my offense to get open. Like the whole time I was watching Elijah Sarratt, I was like, Ben Johnson would fucking hate this, because it's like it felt like a ton of the opposite of that. Like he does a lot of that go deep, throw it up, back shoulder stuff where it's like you're within a foot of him, but he's got strong hands. He forces a lot of pass interferences by doing that, and he does track the ball well. When he gets his hands on it, he usually catches it. And because he knows that guys are scared of that, he kind of does a good job of building off like outbreakers and comebacks and stuff like that. But it almost is like an extension of that back shoulder anyway. Like sometimes he'll do like that out route turning like on his inside hip. And it's like the kind of thing you'd see a guy like run 2 yards past line of scrimmage and he's doing it like 18 yards downfield. But he's good at it. Like, he kind of like that we were saying, like he's not really a guy that'll scare your defense, but when you want to talk about a bucket getter, he got a ton of buckets for that offense in Indiana.
I think with our model that Q makes, which Q does a great job with that, I think he led all receivers in first downs per route run, which is a pretty good stat. I think it's a pretty good teller, and that makes he's a chain mover. Like that's what he does
completely.
I don't think he's a bad separator in the initial parts of the route. Like at the release point, I actually think he's okay. It's just like anything after that where like he's running away from someone, that DB's catching up. Like that's what happens with him.
It's so funny you say that. Like there are some reps where like in my notes I have I was like really good quickness, better than you think. Can get vertical on you before you realize. And then I go, not sure he has long speed though. And then my next note is, oh man, he may be stuck in the mud. And then my next note is, wait, maybe not. Like sometimes he has a short area of quickness and like before you know it, he's on top of you. But it's like I just don't know if he'll ever be a runaway from you guy.
I don't think he will. He didn't test. I think we know why he didn't test. I'd be surprised if he runs at all in this offseason circuit, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, a 33% contested target rate this past year, like that's his game. Like he's the dark. Matt Harmon calls it the dark arts of playing wide receiver. That's what he does. Like he's a back shoulder guy, like you said. He catches, he boxes defenders out with his frame. Like he's a red zone target. Like those are all those things. How highly you value that is totally up to you, right? Like Ben Johnson and Sean Payton, these types of offenses value big body receivers, and Pat Bryant is a name I think is a good one. I honestly think Luke, based on like how we're describing his game, or like I think the separation he creates is it like initial, like it's in the shorter parts of the route. I think the best way for him to maximize that is if he ends up moving into the slot, which I think he'll probably have to do. I don't see him as an X receiver just because X receiver you got to be able to threaten corners vertically, and I don't really ever see that being a big part of his game.
Yeah. I mean, the way that he makes it, like gets it done in on the outside is by winning all those contested in that back shoulder situation stuff, and that's probably just less sustainable at the NFL level. And I agree. I think he does have some good shiftiness off the line, and like can set you up and beat you outside or inside. And if you can do that, like
there's a place for you for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Like he's a bucket getter without a doubt. He's a guy you want there on third down. He gives you a little something with yak. He's got nice mitts. He can go up and get it. Like he's pretty reliable, but it's just like, you need to have like that hole in your offense. Like with the Bears right now, like, anything you'd ask him to do, you should be just asking Rome Odunze to do.
Yep. Rome and Loveland. I feel like they're the players in those situations that you want to rely on. And I honestly think would be probably better to rely on, but let's keep churning through this list. So I think Denzel Boston, I have Denzel Boston ahead of Sarratt.
Yes.
This one is so tough for me.
This one's crazy. Well, like, so for anyone that hasn't watched these people, I think that KC Concepcion, I might be pronouncing that wrong. I heard
Concepcion from my understanding.
Concepcion. I know. I heard that for the first time today on like someone posted a clip, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. This whole career, I'm going to have to talk like I'm French. But anyway, for those that aren't familiar, like he's been pretty highly considered in that top 5, top 6 range of wide receivers in this class. And fairly so. He's like a classic, like modern type of receiver that you'd want. He's at the same kind of build and skill style as like, maybe not as tall as CeeDee Lamb, but like, those guys that are 6 foot, 190, good speed, good quickness, good hands, like savvy route running, like checks a lot of boxes for you. But Brenen Thompson is the best deep threat in this class by far. It's not even close, and it's not gimmicky. It's like good. Like my notes for him were like better receiver ability than you think, can track the ball well, has a nice relief package too. If you don't have help or a cushion, you're dead. You're dead.
I mean, he ran a 4.26. So I mean, like that should tell you
Is that
everything.
what he ran?
He ran a 4.26, and that he plays that fast. Like he is, and it's like instant. It is like right off the line of scrimmage. He's blown by. There were so many times on whoever Mississippi State's quarterback was, Brenen Thompson. This is a wide receiver from Mississippi State. He's 5'9", 164. Whoever that quarterback was, let Nas down a ton because he is just wide open down the field on so many plays because he just blows past everyone. He is that fast. It's more like apparent to me than even a guy like Xavier Worthy, who I didn't ever think he played like the fastest 40 time ever. I think Brenen Thompson is closer to what we thought Xavier Worthy was going to be from a pure speed perspective. And I'm right there with you, Luke. I ended up really liking him more than I thought I would. Because, he's a smaller guy, and there's only so many ways you can get a guy this small on the field. I feel like it would almost have to be like a throwback Bears offense with Matt Nagy. He reminded me a lot of Taylor Gabriel. That's who Brenen Thompson, when I watched him, I was like, they're very similar players because they can play outside because they have that speed and they have that quickness off the line of scrimmage. They can avoid press coverage, but at the same time, like it's a condensed league now. Like you're looking for bigger receivers, guys who can play in the line and block. So like, I don't know if a full-time receiving role is ever in his future, but for what the Bears need, just a guy, a guy who can stretch the field and you can get the ball into different ways to really, really maximize his speed. Rounds 3, 4. I mean, this is everything you want in that option.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're betting on the upside because he is little. Mm-hmm. He's a small fella, and that's it doesn't work out as much as people want it to, but it's like the deep ball's special, especially with a guy like Caleb Williams. If you can put it 70 yards in the air, like he will kill you even if you have a cushion. And like when he has the ball in his hand, it's one of those guys where it's like he is so much faster than everybody else around him. It's not really that he has to catch it deep. You can hit him like underneath and really stress the defense that way too. Kind of like you were saying with Jamison Williams, and that like it's those crossers as much as it is those straight deep shots. But it's not even, like I said, it's not just like blind gimmicky speed. Like you put the ball up in the air and he does a great job tracking it. Like he is a full-on football player, and he's by far the best deep threat in this class. And he would come into the NFL and be one of the best deep threats in the NFL, like pretty early on.
He's a guy the defense would always have to worry about when he's on the field because if you put double on him, he can still run past you. Like he's that fast, he's that sudden, and that was the thing I liked about him is he's not just straight line speed. There's a couple guys we'll talk about who I thought their deceleration was terrible. That's like half of playing wide receiver. You have to be able to stop your speed. You have to be able to modulate it. It's like a stick shift, right? Like you have to be able to change your gears. And there are some receivers that are Devontae Walker drove me crazy. He was one of these receivers that he could run in a straight line. He was super, super fast. You asked him to break off his route at all, it was a mess. Like you could just see him totally stall out of his route. Brenen Thompson can snap off his routes. Like that's why I'm really fascinated with him because he can actually run routes. He's actually really talented in that regard, way more so than I was expecting a guy who ran in the 4.26s to be. So I feel like we have to. I have KC Concepcion higher, so I feel like we have to move him higher. But don't sleep on Brenen Thompson. He's definitely one of the guys I want the Bears to target in this draft class.
No, there's a lot of guys, as far as our rankings here goes, there are a lot of guys that are lower than 13 that I think I would have ended up putting Brenen Thompson above.
Yes.
Strictly because like you can't teach speed and it's game breaking type stuff. But I don't think he beats KC Concepcion. I mean, I think I might end up being a little lower on KC Concepcion than some people. Like he can make some I worry that he has bad hands. Like I feel like he gets dropped.
Do you want to save him? Do you want to save him for the next round? Because that could be a legitimate conversation in who's advancing in the next round. We talked about this guy a ton in the next group. It's Omar Cooper Jr. and then Antonio Williams was I watched today.
Yeah.
Luke, let me hear your thoughts on Antonio Williams because I'm gonna be fully transparent. I struggled to see much of anything to get fired up about with him, but I'm curious to see what I was missing if you have a different take.
Well, I like his game, honestly. I think if I was ranking him, he'd probably be higher than 11. Like he would be over definitely be over Malachi Fields. He'd probably be over. I like Germie Bernard too. But
Interesting.
yeah, I like him with the ball in his hand. Like he's got good movement. Like he verges on like almost being a slasher, like great movement type stuff. He's a little undersized, but he's fast. Like he's fast too. And something that's really good about him, opposite of Brazzell, is he does a great job staying grounded through catches and like keeping his speed through catches. Like it's something that kind of almost like jumped off the page. Like he's got some stuff. Like he can return punts for you. He threw a couple of touchdowns. Like he's a bit of a gadget guy in that sense. But I think his game as a receiver is like, honestly, I was impressed. Like he's got one of those. He gets open. Like he just gets open.
I think what you said about the yak staying grounded, I think that's such an important trait right now. I think that's what JSN and Puka Nacua, like what separates them. They're so good in the middle of the field to maintain their strides. They don't have to slow down or like they don't have to hesitate in those like crucial moments to keep those big in-breaking routes over the middle and create more yards. And I definitely see some of that with his game. I just don't think he's a very good, like, I don't think he's a very technical route runner. I think it's like a lot of steps. It's just a lot of shaking and almost like panicky when there's someone in front of him. Like I just like didn't really see a technical route runner. It's very much he's just able to work in space because he's in the slot so much and just does whatever he can to get open. Like I was like, I don't know if this will translate to the league. Like you said, he is smaller. I thought against Duke this year, when they were just running 2-man at the very end of the game and they were able to press up on him, he's getting jammed up. He's not separate. Like I had a lot of problems with him there. And then while I do like him straight line speed with the ball in his hands, I put that in my notes. I was like, that's where if he can just turn up the field, he's really dangerous with the ball in his hands. Like his force missed tackle numbers per catch are pretty underwhelming. And that was the thing. If I was like, if you're going to be this like gadgety pop gun slot receiver type, I need more from you after the catch. I need you to be like Luther Burden. I need you to be really, really dynamic. And I don't really see that for him. So I didn't love his routes. I didn't love what he was able to do after the catch. And then when you're envisioning him and like what kind of offense he'd be, he's too small to play in line. Like I don't think he was not a good blocker at all. And that's not because he doesn't try. It's just he's small. Like that was the thing. Like if you're going to be these smaller receivers, I need you to be like Zachariah Branch. I need you to be like incredibly dynamic. And I just like didn't really see that dynamic of a player.
Yeah, I think that's probably where our disconnect is. I thought he was an all-right as a slasher, but I think most of what you said I agree with. Like and especially considering he's coming up against Omar Cooper, who I fucking love.
Yeah,
he's not going to make it out of this round. But I'm interested to see how that goes. Like I think if he goes somewhere like the Chiefs, like I think he can do some stuff there.
If he needs
like
to
a
go
shorter
to
offense
like
that gets the ball in his hands, or like can do some misconception, like has a lot of motion before the snap. Like I think that's something that he could excel in.
Yep, I think he needs to go to an offense like the Chiefs, like the Giants, like anywhere that like they're playing a little bit more spread ball. And I could definitely see the world where, because maybe like it was a Clemson thing where like they didn't really ask him to run the routes, and he can. And I did really like him over the middle. Like I thought he adjusted to passes really well. Like up the seam, I thought he was really, really dangerous. So
especially for a smaller guy, he wasn't scared to take a hit.
Yep, I totally saw him the same way in that regard. Let's save Omar Cooper Jr. because we'll save him for the next one. Let's keep rolling through this list.
Omar Cooper on to the next round.
Yeah, he's on to the next one. Makai Lemon, Zachariah Branch. Zachariah Branch was billed as this, and it's funny too that we're doing. I don't know if this was intentional from Q, because he set this up. These two competed for a starting job at USC. And Zachariah Branch obviously ended up leaving because I think Makai Lemon eventually beat him out. But Zachariah Branch was one of these like highly recruited guys, 5-star recruit. Had a insane reputation of being going to be one of the next best college football players, and I don't know if he ever quite lived up to that. But when I watch him, he's like your prototype Tavon Austin gadget player. Get the ball into this guy's hands. He's super dynamic with it. And there's a place for that in the league, but again, like it's a limited role, and that's kind of where I weigh in on him.
Yeah, I mean, this is like another guy that would probably be like great on the Chiefs, like low average depth of target, which is funny because he's quick and he's fast, but he's not really like a deep threat for you. Like you kind of want it's, which is funny to say because he runs fast, but he threatens you in like different ways. He's like, his yak is sick. He's got good vision. He is a slasher. Like, and he's low to the ground. He's 177 pounds, which, but he's not in that like Jordan Addison category or like Tank
he's
Dell
short too.
category.
That's why
exactly.
He's a little more compact.
He's almost closer to like a Tyreek Hill. And that you're not really worried about him getting like split in half when he gets hit. And like, he's got good contact balance. He's not a pure gadget guy. He can go out and do some wide receiver stuff for you. He's another guy that's not scared to get hit. Like, he's not as small and as vulnerable as those guys, I think. But I also don't think he's a guy you can ask to be your wide receiver 2 or 3. Like, he's only going to put this guy. You're really only going to get probably 30, 40 snaps a game from him. But he's dynamic when he's on the field.
Yep, for sure. He's a situational player. Like, that's exactly how I saw him. I thought, like, I was honestly like, when he ran a 4.42 on his first 40, I was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, because I saw him the same way as you. I think I had it listed here. He only has 10 career catches beyond 20 plus yards. So like, they just never, no matter where he's been, they never use him as a deep threat. 58% of his catches became behind the line of scrimmage across his career.
That's crazy.
Like, that's the kind of player he is. He's as gadgety as like tosses, screens, RPOs. Like, that's the kind of player he is. There's a place for those type of players. I have a 4th round grade on him. Like, I'm not valuing that skill set in the first 3 rounds, because it's just limited, right? You get yourself into the Bayless Jones conversation. Like, that's where you get yourself into trouble with players like that. So I like him for what he is, but I am realistic about what he is. And that is why Makai Lemon definitely advances to the next round here.
Yeah, we don't even really need to get into it. I like Zachariah Branch. I think, like, honestly, it's funny to say as a comp, but almost like any way that you wanted to use, well, I guess maybe I was going to say Tarek Cohen, but like, I guess Tarek Cohen, you could put Tarek Cohen behind the offensive line, and he'd probably give you more between the tackles and stuff. But both like shifty, low center gravity guys, good hands, but like, slightly gadgety. You need
as receivers,
as a role in tandem with people.
As a receivers, I think it's a great comp. I think it's a great, because I think they're very, very similar. But the next one is interesting, because these are two. I guess Bernard's getting a little bit more hype, but I feel like these are 2 forgotten guys. In the grand scheme of things. I ended up liking Bernard more than I thought he would. He is like a dirty work guy. He's the best blocking receiver, in my opinion, and I think he'll translate to today's league right away, because Alabama did play him tight into the formation a ton. He's down blocking a ton. He's cracking a ton.
But he's patient. Like, he lets the block come to him. He knows sometimes, like, he doesn't waste his energy on like running a guy down if he knows he can just put himself in between like the guy in the play. Like, really, really good blocker.
Yep, he's like a Jarvis Landry type to me. Like, that was like, and I don't know like if he'll ever be as productive. Like, he'd have to fall into an offense that's just pumping him volume nonstop. Like, I don't think that will ever be the case. But a heavier receiver, a guy who can block, who's going to play mostly off the line of scrimmage or in the slot. I don't think he's an X receiver. Like, I don't think he's winning in isolation a ton. His routes, I think, are okay, but he's more of a zone coverage guy. He can do some things after the catch. He's hard to bring down because he's bigger, just like a wide receiver 3 type. That was how I saw him. If he's your wide receiver 3, like a Juwan Jennings, I think, like in terms of value of how you value this player, you're probably doing really, really well. So I liked him more than I thought. I think he's a winning football player for a good team.
Yep. Yeah, I think quite the opposite of like Zachariah Branch. I think that the way that Germie Bernard wins and what he offers you to the team, he's a guy that, if he hits his ceiling, he's a guy that you can start in at the start of the game and just leave him in the rest of the game. Like a solid wide receiver 2. He's almost just like when you play Super Mario Brothers and you play Mario and all of his stats are 8 out of 10. That kind of feels like what it's like with Germie Bernard. Like I have, I don't know what he does that's elite, but like there's not a whole lot that he doesn't do good. My comparison was DJ Moore, if DJ Moore cared to block. I think DJ Moore was better yak, better deep. Like, I think DJ Moore is a better receiver, but they're stylistically pretty the same. Like, they win similar and they're built similar. Like, that's kind of your idea of what his archetype is as a receiver. But I think he tries a little bit harder than DJ Moore does. He's like I said, he's a good blocker. He's got good sense for it. I think what you said about being like a winning receiver on a good team is perfect. Like, you go to a coach that like like a respected program, and he would just be a guy that would be there for 8 years doing good football stuff.
100%. And for like some of the, I think, limitations me and you are both acknowledging he tested way better than I thought he would. He ran a 6.71 3-cone, which is insane for like a guy you don't think is super fluid on tape. That is an amazing time. It was the fastest 3-cone of any player at the combine, which is like something I would never think was the case.
He does give you some good yak stuff, and that's a lot of fun. Yeah. That's a lot of like getting to the hole as it develops, which is your change of direction. He does, 100%. But it's funny because one of my notes is, and maybe this is more long speed oriented, but he doesn't really have the greatest acceleration.
His explosive numbers were poor, so that checks out.
But he's reliable for that offense, and like because he does a little dirty stuff, like it makes honestly some of the, I think the receiving stuff a little easier too, and he's got good hands. Like he's a good player. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going higher than some people think, because he is kind of, before the season, people were talking about him like he was going to be like one of the top 5 receivers in this class, and some other guys that kind of popped up and gotten a little bit more shake like at this time of year, but he's a good player, man. There's not a whole lot.
He definitely is. I could see if he was available at pick 60, possibly. I could see, because he's a kind of a do-it-all guy. Like he's never going to do anything amazing, and he's kind of a do-it-all guy. And I could see Ben Johnson. He would fit right in this offense because he does block. He does play tight to the line of scrimmage. Like I would not be surprised at all if he was ended up being the pick at 60, or maybe if the Bears traded back in the 3rd round and he's still there and they're looking for that 3rd receiver dirty work guy. He's that, like Tim Patrick type. Who I know Tim Patrick was more of an X, but I'm just thinking of the same kind of roles you're asking from those receivers. He would be that for me. Chris Bell, totally opposite player. He is like all flash, all athleticism. My comp for him was Xavier Legette. That's the kind of player I think he is.
Yeah.
He's one of these guys, Luke, who is super fast in a straight line. If you get this guy in a crosser, full head of steam, he's impossible to bring down. Like he has some insane plays where he'll just take like those little shallow crosses to the house. Like against Miami, he had that one insane touchdown. He brings a shallow cross to the house, but I just think he cannot decelerate at all. Like whenever he's up to top speed, he cannot break off his routes. It's a mess. And I just think the overall route running separation is just kind of all over the place. He is definitely someone I think is a better idea than an actual player at this point.
I'm with you. I'm lower on Chris Bell than I think. Well, like than I think most people are. I keep seeing him as like
he's got some fans, man. He's got some really big fans. There are some people that think he should like go into the back of the end of round 1. I think that's crazy.
Crazy talk. Yeah, I mean, Xavier Legette's good comp. For those who don't know, he's like 6'2", like 220, built like, and also like an AJ Brown kind of thing. So he plays like you'd think. He's physical. He's not really quick, but he can get open. Like I have a note here that says he can get up to a top speed that's pretty impressive, but it feels like it doesn't last very long. And that's why I think like, he's not going to threaten you deep. He can beat with a crosser and stuff like that. Sometimes he looks pretty cumbersome out there. And that's, I think to your point, is like his deceleration and change of direction. Yeah, I don't know if it looks like he just doesn't care. I also have a note here that I think that he might be soft. Like
the blocking is like some of the worst I've ever seen. It is like a problem because if you're that big, you have to be an asset in the blocking game. He just looks totally disinterested. Like he doesn't even try. That's the thing where I'm hung up. I'm like, there's too many holes in your game. Like, okay, if you're like, even though Devontae Adams doesn't do this, but if you're like Devontae Adams who just like gets open on every single play, okay, I can live with you not blocking every now and then. Yeah. This dude is not doing that to where like you can justify the level of effort he gives as a blocker.
Yeah, like I understand, and he's got some exciting plays. Sometimes he plays pretty big and physical, and he's got reliable hands. Like he can play the back shoulder, like all right. But my final note was just not a lot of exciting stuff here. Like I don't know what he would do for your offense that you'd think about going and taking him like early. That sounds crazy to me.
Because he needs a lot of role catering. Like he needs a lot of specific type of touches to where I think you maximize him as a player. And like Ben Johnson talks about it. I think this is across the league, like no block, no rock. And it's hard to design touches for a guy who doesn't really block, who's limited. And like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do with the type of player. He's a day 3 player for me. And not to mention too, he also tore his ACL. So this past season. So I'm not trying to hammer the guy, but I didn't see a lot of redeeming qualities to like bolster him up the board like others. So I'm taking Bernard in this situation. It sounds like you are too, Luke.
Yep.
All right, last one, Jordan Tyson, who's I think extremely polarizing in the space right now, and then Skyler Bell. We'll talk about Tyson. Bell, I'm gonna be honest too. Another guy, I didn't see it. First of all, I feel like most of the time this type of profile is the kind of a hard sell for me anyway.
Yeah.
So he's a 5th-year player who broke out in his 5th season, who transferred from Wisconsin to the University of Connecticut. So the fact that he didn't do anything at Wisconsin. So the fact that it took him to going to a lower competition level to really be a featured part of a smaller school's offense to break out, I think in his specific case, I think says a lot because I didn't really see a lot of strengths. Like I didn't see anything like that was crazy weaknesses, but he's another one of these guys. I don't think decelerates that well. I don't think he runs routes that well. Like the separation when he has to win in isolation, I just didn't love. And then the most underwhelming part about his game for how featured the UConn has him as, like they just pump him targets any way they can. He's just not that good after the catch. And I was like, I don't really know what to do with you. I don't know what the redeeming quality is.
I have a note that says I don't know if I ever saw him break a tackle. I literally think he got tackled the first person every time every rep as I watched.
And that's what the numbers say too. So it's not like we're crazy here. I think a lot of those numbers would match. So I didn't really get the sell. He's like a wide receiver 4 to me in the league, and he's got traits. He ran well. He jumped well. He didn't do the 3-cone or the short shuttle, and I think that's kind of his. I don't think he sinks his hips and gets in and out of breaks really smoothly. So I think that kind of makes sense that he didn't do either one of those drills. So he's a tough sell for me. I didn't really know what to do with him, and I definitely going Jordan Tyson in this situation.
Yeah,
let's jump back up to the top, look, because I just want to kind of speed through this. Luke, Carnell Tate and Chris Brazzell. I think we're going to go one direction here, but do you want to talk? Should we just move on to the next one?
Carnell Tate's going to be in these conversations later, so that'll be good. This is a good one. This is a tough one for me. I feel like I know how I'm leaning. Hate to see Chris Brazzell go down. I like him. I think that he, as far as having immediate success in the NFL, I think that he has as much as chance as anybody in this category. But I think in this the D block here we've gotten to, his stuff is obvious. It's kind of like the Brenen Thompson Jr. stuff. There are some things he can do in the NFL day one. But we got Carnell Tate.
Yeah, we can't pass on Carnell. So I think it's fair to move Carnell to the next one. This one will be fascinating. Because I have these two next to each other on my board right now. Yep. Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. We talked a little bit about Boston. You talked about Concepcion, your concerns with him. Just give me a little bit of what you think about his game in general.
Yeah, to start, I feel like of all the players that I've reviewed so far, something tells me that I could go back and watch Casey Concepcion with a little bit more grace and maybe bump him up in my grade. I don't think he got a ton of help from his offense and his quarterback. Sometimes it was downright tough to watch. But he's got good change of direction and speed out of his breaks. He's got good speed, but he's not really blistering. His route running, it feels like sometimes it can lack gamesmanship, or it feels like sometimes he's just doing stuff. It's not intentional and setting people up. But he's got some good yak to his game. He can go up and get the ball. He's got good hands. Like I said, his change of direction is good. I don't know if his acceleration is amazing. And this is all stuff saying that I preface all that by saying he actually is a great player. He is great. I'm almost holding him to a higher standard of is he great? You know what I mean? He's better than all the other guys we've gotten out of the first round, we cut in the last round of this.
Yeah.
But is he in that next tier? And it's I don't know. It's kind of the stuff that I loved about who's the Colt that just got traded to the Jets.
John Mechie?
No,
no. I'm sorry.
We both
Adonai Mitchell.
Adonai Mitchell is, it's very similar type games in that, I don't know if there's any one thing that's elite, but maybe a little more so than Germie Bernard. Like if Germie Bernard, I said, was 80, like overall in most categories, like maybe Casey Concepcion is 85 kind of thing. Like he does a lot of stuff great. And like there's not I think he could have some better hands. That's my biggest worry. I don't know if it's a focus thing or if it's just the way that it is, but there are a little bit, there's some more drops than I'd like. He can make the tough ones, but sometimes you got to worry about the easy ones with him.
Wow, Lou, I'm gonna be honest. KC is one of my favorites in this class. I think I get some of the concerns. Definitely the ball skills. I mean, he has a career drop rate of 10%, so that's never good. And I think it's like a legit issue for him where he does drop too many of the easy ones. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I think he's one of the best route runners in the class. I think the separation is just apparent. Like, and the thing is too, I thought his quarterback let him down so many times. Like, he's open all the time.
100%.
Yeah. To me, he's open all the time. And I think there are times where he'll get hung up on press cover. Like, this is what I wrote. I said, the small size makes you wonder just how versatile he'll be in the league. He can probably play some X, but definitely not where you want him to live. He'll most likely be a Z or a slot for most of his snaps. And I said, contact can disrupt him. There weren't many times where DBs were able to get a clean shot on him, but when they did, the route was pretty much dead. And that's, I think, some of the things I definitely agree with you when I watch him. Like, he's not the best at getting off of contact, but I just think he's so dang quick, and he is like really nuanced with how he runs routes. So I thought the separation was awesome. I'm always going to lean towards those guys. But at the same time, like, he's definitely not a perfect player by any means.
Did he run? He
did not, which was surprising because he's supposed to be a really good athlete. I don't think he did any of the testing.
Dang, so I would have liked it because, I mean, it doesn't like I said, like I was saying, like I might have been like I'm probably being harsh on him because I'm like holding him to, is he like a top 5 receiver type class?
Yeah.
Like the guy behind him, and like even thinking about like him testing, like I was gonna say like, a 4.4 something would be like whatever for him because like he really does just look like he's like in that like next kind of echelon. It wouldn't surprise me if he ran a 4.35 kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't think he was like insanely fast, but I definitely didn't think he was slow either. I thought he was like fast enough. Like, there are plenty of plays where he just strides behind people. So I don't think it's like a huge question for me. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would have liked to see him test.
Me too.
So who would you take in this scenario? Because I have KC slightly slightly above Boston. And to be fair, from the consensus top 3, I do have KC just a tier under that. It's not like I have him as like a tier 1 receiver in the class.
I would probably go Denzel Boston here. I like Denzel Boston's game.
And I won't argue with you because I have them so dang close on my board. I'll go Boston, even though I do usually prefer the KC Concepcions of the world.
I think so, and you know what? That's the modern receiver, and your note about it, and it's something I think like over the last couple of seasons I've noticed is like like something that you're a fan of is a guy that can like he could truly be your starting slot or your starting X. Yeah. And when you can do that, like that's like, I feel like that's the modern receiver. That's a really modern NFL thing. Cause then you can have multiplicity, as Ben Johnson would call it.
For sure.
You kind of can with Denzel Boston in a way too, because he's nice off the line and quick, but he doesn't blur the line like KC Concepcion does. Like Denzel Boston, at least when you look at him, like he looks like he's an X receiver. I think that the reason I like him is because it's probably underrated how like good he can operate in some of those like phone booth type situations, and as well as like doing all the things you'd want your X receiver to do. Like he is like your go up and get it guy. He's got crazy strong hands. He's strong. He doesn't get pressed. He can still win kind of with some straight line speed over top too. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think I go Denzel Boston there. I think honestly, Denzel Boston might be one of those guys that I end up, and I hate big receivers. But he might.
I think your Twitter, I don't know if it still is, but you were like, I forgot what it was. Like you had a certain like height threshold for receivers.
Yeah, I said I think it still is pass rush is more important than coverage, and 6'4" is too tall for a wide receiver.
Well, Denzel Boston is just 6'4",
just under. Yeah, I think he's just under. So we're good.
Yeah, so he'll pass the test. All right, I won't argue with you, but I do love me some KC Concepcion. I think he is one of the better route runners in this class. Let's move on to the next one. We haven't talked about either one of these receivers. And look, I like Omar Cooper Jr. I think people are maybe a little bit more wheels up than me. You know, I respect what he's been able to accomplish throughout 4 years of his career. I think he had a yards per route run over 2 in every single one of his career. That's a great sign. And he's just kind of been able to produce in different roles throughout his time in Indiana. When I watch him, I think he's a really good yak player. I don't think he's like the best route runner in the world. And like, it's hard to kind of suss out what exactly he can do as a route runner, because most of his route tree is like vertical routes from the slot and crossers. Like that's mainly what he's asked to do in Indiana's offense. So, and he plays mostly in the slot too. So it's not like he's getting pressed up on a ton. So I like him. I think he's more in that, like, I heard a poor man Luther Burden as a comp, and I can see that, even though I don't think he's nearly as dynamic as Burden.
He ran a 4.42. I just looked at his numbers now. Yeah, I mean, he's getting a lot of hype.
He is
in what feels like out of nowhere. Like, I feel like
he's like the trendy guy to like right now.
Dude, he's PFF's big board has him ahead of Boston and Concepcion.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? And like, dude, a month ago, he would have been like, no kidding, he would have been like 15th there. I remember when I was first watching him, I was kind of like, oh, like, who's this Omar Cooper guy? And now, like, he has blown up. And I mean, if you want to fight the case for him, you know, he's similar to Casey Concepcion. He's kind of that, like, blend the line, like 6 foot 200. Like, if you would need him to play X, he can. If you need him to play Y, he can. He did a ton for that Indiana offense. Like, he would run lead blocker and like crack back and like the first guy in the hole a ton for them. But like, and he showed good aggression and like can bring it to you. But you know, similar to Elijah Sarratt, or sorry, who we're talking about as we were saying as a foolish blocker.
Was it Germie Bernard?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, similar. Omar Cooper has a great sense for it, like super patient. He's got nice hands through contact. He does a ton of dirty work for the offense too, like being the guy, like the lead blocker and screens. I'm not sure he gives every route the same like level of effort or like explosiveness out of it. Like sometimes it feels like he'll just kind of disappear for you, but like you just put on the tape and watch him move, and like the things that just jump off is he moves well. Like he's got good dynamicism, and he's got good hands. And like on top of that, you know, you're getting a guy that like is going to be good for the locker room, because he was like nose first, like in every block, the first person to celebrate with his team in the end zone. Like a lot to like about him on that front too.
Yeah, I think he's a good player for where offenses are today. I don't think like because he played a lot in the slot. Over his career, he played all over the place. But this past year, where I thought he had his best season, he played a lot in the slot, and I don't think he's like what you think of as like your normal slot receiver. Like, is he going to run a bunch of option routes and whip routes and stuff like that? I just don't think that's the kind of receiver he is. He's more of a guy you want probably breaking in one direction and just continuing to run and using his yards after the catch. He forced 27 missed tackles this year. Like that's the kind of player he is. So I like him. I like Makai Lemon a lot better. I think Makai Lemon will be my wide receiver too. And we'll talk about that when we get to the final battle. And we don't have to go into depth unless you're going to make the case for Omar over Makai. We can save Makai for the next round.
It would be a lot closer for me.
Interesting.
Man, like sometimes I don't know if I like someone just because everyone's telling me I like them. I like a lot about Makai Lemon, but I don't know. I don't know if I were going to end up tier listing these guys. How if these guys would end up on a different tier? For being honest with you, I think if like it would be almost like maybe it's not a coin flip. This is another thing where maybe I'm holding Makai Lemon to a higher standard. Like I was watching him, like, am I watching a blue chip? And I was watching Omar, like, okay, like let's see what you have. Makai Lemon is nice, and there's no doubt about it. And some of his stuff is incredibly elite. So I'm fine with going Makai Lemon here, but I do like Omar Cooper. I understand why he's starting to get that hype.
Yeah, we'll talk about Makai Lemon because I think I had some of your same reservations, but we'll talk about him. I think the next one's pretty easy too. I love Germie Bernard. If this was a wide receiver 3 award, he'd definitely win. But I think Jordan Tyson's just the more dynamic player and definitely deserves to be moved on to the next round.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we can move up to our final 4, I believe, with Carnell Tate and Denzel Boston. And for Denzel Boston being the bigger receiver of the two, I think Tate is more of your X receiver, vertical down the field. Yep. He's the best like ball getter, ball winner in the class.
Yes.
I wouldn't call him the best deep threat because I think Brenen Thompson, we talked about, like he's probably got the best deep speed. Yep. But in terms of just like a one-on-one isolation coverage, a guy who probably has to shift your coverage, you have to probably put a safety over the top.
Honestly.
Because you don't trust any of the corners to cover him down the field. That's Carnell Tate. Like I think he just plugs and plays into most offenses in the NFL.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm surprised that this is 40-yard dash gate. Everybody's saying that for whatever reason his wasn't as fast, but that's like it is a little bit interesting because they say he ran a 4.53, and if you watch his tape, like he's 6'2", 200 pounds, right? Like he's a bigger body guy, but there is no doubt if you need him to win deep, like he has the speed to do it. Like he can be a legit deep threat, and that's on top of your point, like being that best. Go attack the ball. If there's a ball in the air, it's mine. Like I had my two notes were he plays the ball in the air like George Pickens or Dez Bryant.
Like he reminds me a lot of George Pickens. He reminds me a ton of like that was my comp for him. I think they're very, very similar players because they're like a little slighter than you'd think, but they're as good as anybody at attacking the football in the air.
Yep. His route running can be a little erratic. This is like where we get into the nitpicky stuff. Sometimes it feels like it can lack purpose. He'll kind of just like, it doesn't feel like he does the first thing for the second thing. Like sometimes he's just trying to like shake you, and then he's like, I'll run my route after that kind of thing. But he's a willing blocker. He's got a good sense for angles. He's got good yak too. Honestly, get the ball in his hand. He can be tough to bring down. He's got nice long speed. His hands at the point of attack are the best in the class. Like you said, like Carnell Tate is I don't like he'll without a doubt. I don't know where everyone else is going to end up grading. He is a for sure first round grade for me.
Yeah, he's my wide receiver one right now. I just think he's the safest of the bunch because I know exactly how he's going to fit in, and I'm not concerned about the 40. I think he modulates his speed to where it doesn't really matter. Like he can manipulate defenders and then really stride away from him down the field on top of just the ball skills and the crazy catches that he makes. And honestly, I know Julian Saint's going to be a really hotly debated quarterback next year. He's in line to be one of the top guys, but I thought he let him down a ton too. I thought on the backside, because the offense is designed around Jeremiah Smith, as it should be. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Jeremiah Smith, we'll talk about him next year, but Carnell Tate is open on the backside all the time.
Yeah,
he's never letting those backside in routes go, Julian Saint. So I actually think he's like a really underrated separator, but I do agree that I think some of the routes, like I think some of the shorter routes, like some of the ones that require more nuance, definitely I think he can grow in those areas. And I think he has all the talent to grow. So I love Carnell Tate. He's definitely in the final two for me.
Yep. That's an easy one for me.
Let's move on to the next tier. So we're at Denzel Boston, and I'm sorry, we just did Denzel Boston. What am I talking about? This is Makai Lemon versus Jordan Tyson. And you talk about Makai Lemon because I think draft, this is like fantasy football Twitter's wide receiver one easily. Yeah. And it sounds like you're a little slower to pump, or you're a little quicker to pump the brakes on that.
Yeah. And again, like maybe this is because like I kind of went in watching him thinking like, okay, I'm watching like a blue chip prospect, and like all of my notes are positive things. Everything I wrote is nice. And then my last point is I just don't know if I see a blue chip player. And that's kind of what it is. Like, I don't know if because he's kind of getting touted like it, like I'm seeing some people throw him in that, like, I don't think people are saying generational, but he's an advanced statistics darling. They love, like, he's a yards per route run guy. PFF had him at an elite grade. And it's a pretty easy kind of comparison, like, to make because, Amon-Ra St. Brown went to USC as well. He is like a pure kind of slot guy, but I don't know if that kind of like boxes in Makai Lemon. I actually think he has better long speed than you might think for that kind of role, which I know is like not what you'd expect from an Amon-Ra St. Brown, despite the fact that he does that slot stuff great. Like he's a great slot winner. He can play your seams. He can play your screen routes. He's got great ball skills. He's light on his feet. He's quick out of his cuts. Like, I don't know if he's a world beater, I guess. And that's kind of like the conversation that he's in. And if like, you're asking him to be a world beater. I don't know if I see that, but this is a tough one for me. I like Jordan Tyson, and I still think that I might end up just putting Makai Lemon above him.
I think Lemon, I do care about the production stuff. Like I do think that's important. I think it's a really good predictor in the NFL, and he hits all of those thresholds, which is why I'm becoming more open to that as I've grown as an evaluator. Production does matter, especially when you do it. And he's produced young in his career, and that stuff matters to me, and I value that, which is why I definitely I bumped him up for that. Of my production score, he has the highest score. And that matters to me. But I do agree with you in the fact that he is smaller, and I don't think he's a great athlete. I think he's an okay athlete. And I think that combination is never really a great starting point at any position in the NFL. If you're small, I want you to be a better athlete, and I just don't really know if that's the case for Lemon. But ultimately, why I am more sold on him is like he does all the small things of playing receiver extremely well. He plays bigger than his size in terms of going up and attacking the football. I think he's got the best hands in the class. He just every single catch is routine. His sticky hands. It doesn't matter where the ball is. He plays as tough as anybody when it comes to finding the football and keeping 2 mitts on it. And then he also forces missed tackles, 34 forced missed tackles over the last 2 seasons. Like these are all things I like. I do think the route running is good, especially against off coverage. I think it's really good. It's just when he has to deal with those bigger corners that are able to get hands on him, I think that's sometimes where you see some limitations. I think that I don't like the Amon-Ra St. Brown comp sometimes because why Amon-Ra St. Brown is so special is he's probably like the strongest pound for pound receiver in the class, like in the NFL. And I don't think that's Lemon. Lemon's not a guy who's going to like fight off press coverage with just being stronger than the guy across from him. Like that's just not who he's going to be. So yes, Lemon is going to be a off the ball slot, mostly receiver in the NFL. If you have a role for that in your offense, I think he can be one of the very best at that specific role. Is he going to be for every offense? Is he going to be for everyone? No, and that's okay. But I'm still willing to buy into all the things that he does well. For me, he's my wide receiver too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he is like he might be like high floor, but that maybe not the highest ceiling kind of guy. Like I feel like you know what you're getting with him. I don't love that it seemed like he didn't have the greatest combine as far as interviews.
And
that's weird. I think people made. I watched his interview like at the podium, and I just watched it, and then I found out that some people thought it was whack, and I didn't know if that was the case. I mean, he's definitely got some mannerisms that may be a little bit off-putting, but I thought his answers were fine. I don't think he sounded like stupid, like people were making him out to sound.
Right.
It did sound like maybe the team-oriented meetings also didn't go great, which isn't good, obviously. He also had crazy small hands, which I mean, it doesn't show up on film, which is hilarious. George Pickens has small hands and is a great receiver. But it's these are and he didn't test, and then like he was going through the drills and he wasn't listening and was running the wrong stuff. It was just all kind of weird, but the tape is great. The tape is fun, honestly. And he was the engine for that offense. Jordan Tyson, I think would be almost kind of the opposite. Like he has a pretty big upside, man. He's an exciting player, and when it's good, like his high level tape is as good as anyone's in the class.
It's like elite. It's like elite stuff. It's like if he's like the epitome. If you could bottle up his best stuff, he'd be a top 5 receiver in the league.
Yeah. If you watched just the highlights, you'd think he was he was the best like candidate for this class. But on a snap to snap basis, it's just not always the case. He can struggle with contested catches. He has some outright drops, too. But at the same time, like sometimes with his high point, like catching traffic stuff is like gorgeous. So it's like, it's funny like that. His change of direction is elite, sharp. He's he also just has a knack for getting open and being open. Like he's got a good sense against zone. He's got a good sense in the scramble drill. His yak is okay. He doesn't offer a ton of yak. He can get careless with the ball too. He can fumble. Also, he can. I think he struggles with press as well. I think he can get knocked off his line and then just not even really fight to get back. But like I said, he's got ideal size. He's fast and quick. He's got a good sense for getting open. So like that's like the high level stuff. Like is really, really good with him. And I I would personally, if I had to rank these, I would put him ahead of Makai Lemon just because, like, if you're going to be swinging for the fences, like, you'd want a guy that could end up being as, like, a true difference maker, wide receiver 1 in the NFL. I don't know if I think that that's who Makai Lemon is, but, like, I think Makai Lemon's floor is someone like a Jarvis Landry. Like, come in, be a great slot receiver for you. He can be a bucket getter for you. But Makai Lemon kind of feels like, if you need 5 yards, I'll get you 6. If you need 7 yards, I might get you 6.
Yeah. I struggle with Tyson because I do think I did see him very similarly. To me, he reminds me of a souped up Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Judy's best moments are what made me fall in love with Jerry Jeudy coming out. Where, like, when his routes are on, he's looks like the best separator you ever seen. Like, it just looks effortless with how quick he is off the line of scrimmage. But, like, at the same time, when that crazy footwork and those crazy shake he has the line of scrimmage doesn't work, it's like, oh shit, I actually have to do other things to separate. And then in the league where coverage gets a lot tighter and guys get hands on you a lot easier than they do at the college level, I do have a lot of concerns about what will Tyson's answers be, because he's a bigger receiver, but I don't think I think the play strength is where I question, like, can you find other ways to get off press coverage? Because I think you're going to play more so on the outside. He can play in the slot. There's no doubt. I think he can do it all. But I think teams are going to want him to play on the outside because there are only so many receivers that can do that. And it's like that. I think this is what separates you, both figuratively and literally, if you have that skill set to win one-on-one. And at times it looks as good as you'll ever see, but there are times too where it really scares me with him. And then with him, you have to bring up the lengthy injury history. He has an extensive injury history. I think he tore
everything.
Like two ACLs. Like, it's a really, really extensive. He's still recovering from a hamstring injury he had this past season. That's why he wasn't able to test the combine. I don't even know if he'll be able to test at all. So medicals will be huge for him.
2 years ago, he did the ACL, MCL, and PCL, like, all in the same injury kind of thing, like the blown up knee. And like he's sitting out. He didn't test because of his back, and like the lingering hammy, man. The hammy's a real one. Like, so you fully do have to address it. I think you said it great, man. It's an upside thing for him. Like, when it looks good, it's golden. Like, sometimes you don't, like, something you never saw with, like, Skyler Bell on tape is that sometimes he's, like, wide open, cooked you, like, set you up, burned you. There's nothing you could have done, kind of thing. And, like, his highlight reel is as good as anyone's in the class. But I think that, if I had to spend a first round, it's tough. I think you have a little bit more conviction here over Tyson of Lemon over Tyson than I do. And I'm happy to just put Makai on to the next round.
I think Lemon's the safer of the two, and that's the only reason I would think, like, again, I'm usually more about swing for the upside, but I think Lemon's kind of notably more safer just because of the injuries. I just think that's what scares you with Tyson so much, that I really don't know the extent of what his long-term outlook would be, and that's definitely a conversation teams are having right now. So I'm comfortable putting Lemon at 2. When it comes down to Tate and Lemon, I just think that Tate is just as safe and has more upside as, like, what type of value he brings to you as a receiver. I think he's the type of guy that can flip the field. He's the type of guy that makes defenses roll coverages toward them. I think it's really close, but I have Tate slightly above Lemon.
Yep. That's easy for me. I got Tate. I think, I started, like, thinking that he was going to be my wide receiver 1, and it just worked out that, like, I got to his tape, and man, there's not a whole lot of holes in Carnell Tate's game. Really not a lot. And if anything, like you said, like, there are a ton of times he's running wide open, and, like, even he knows he's not getting the ball. Like, he's just dutifully burning these guys and just being like, I know, he's not going to get past his first read. Sometimes it's like the way they set it up, like those, like, quick to the line, like, just there's no one else but Jeremiah Smith here kind of thing. And that's fine. Like, that's who Jeremiah Smith is. Carnell Tate's good. This is no doubt for me.
Yeah, he's really fun. I'm definitely a big fan of his, but I hope we covered most of the receiving class, at least the guys that are going to be talked about in the top 100. Definitely, I will try to get to some of the other guys I have not watched. But Luke, I think this is a good place to end this.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, the way it worked out, you're going to have guys that we liked, like, and probably could have talked more about where they fit in with the rest of them, like, Elijah Sarratt or Brenen Thompson, that just had tough matchups in the first round, even for me on Antonio Williams. But I think for the most part, that's a pretty good representation of the class. Like I would have had Tyson over Lemon. Maybe I'll end up with Casey Concepcion over Boston, Concepcion. But the top three are Lemon, Tate, and Tyson. That kind of shows. I think that next tier down is like Boston, Concepcion, maybe even Bernard or Cooper in that range. And that's how our list ended up. Hey, yeah. I don't know if you saw it. We cut Edmonds.
We just cut. Right now?
Yeah, about 20 minutes ago.
Wow, I had my phone on silent. I'm sure. Wow, that's pretty insane. I thought they were definitely going to try to get a trade done, but another podcast, another episode for another podcast.
Yeah, it's cool. I think we did good. that's the class, right? I said I don't think that there's a lot of like true elite type stuff. I don't know if in the last couple of years if Carnell Tate would have been number one in those classes, even though he is a good player. Like, I think he's a kind of a high floor, high ceiling type guy, but there's a lot of like pick your poison type guys, like true, like archetype type guys, like back shoulder, X receiver guys, like Sarratt, the burners, like Brenen Thompson, your do it all guys like Germie Bernard or Omar Cooper. Like I think some guys will probably go higher than you might think. Just on like pre-draft talk, just because some teams are going to covet like those one or two things that they do great. And there's a lot of like different flavors in this draft.
Most definitely. I think I see the class very similar to you, but I think that is going to be it for us, y'all. So, it's been real.
Cheers.